Welcome to episode 14 of Narrowboat Vloggl. This week we're rounding up the best bits from recent Narrowboat vlogs. On Narrowboat Natterings, Lumpy has made his very own drone. Join him and Mrs Lumsden on their journey into Lapworth on the Stratford Canal, where he gives his contraption its test flight.
I bought myself a drone. It's called a GoPro on a barge pole, and so that is going to give us some amazing shots, I think. We'll see. It'll probably fall off and I'll lose my GoPro in the cut. It's a very wide angle, so it takes anything it'll take, you see. And that is the part of the Lapworth flight, the part that is kind of all straight in a straight line. Come through some very pretty locks behind me. I have no idea what sort of shot you're getting off this GoPro at the moment, but it's worth a try.
The Carpenter's Daughter shares how to make fender hangers.
So it's a bit of a different video this week because we've just bought a 57-foot narrowboat as our holiday home, and one of the things that I've done for it is make some DIY boat fender hangers so we can protect our hull while we're moored up and pick them up and put them away while we're in locks. So first things first, you can find 2 free printable templates in my blog post below, depending on the shape of your boat. The larger ones are designed for our boat. The smaller ones I actually copied from a neighbour, which fits his boat much better. If you don't have a printer on board, then here's 2 ways of how you can make your own template. The first one is to use a profile gauge to get the shape of your hanging rail. Or a cheaper way, which I did because I didn't have my profile gauge on me, was to grab some cardboard, mark with a pencil either side of the rail, leaving about 5mm again each side. Then make it level with the flat part of the roof and draw the height of the rail on the back. Then I poked through with a pencil. That way I could line them up on the front and just play around with it. Cardboard is free and you can easily bend it and fold it around to create the shape you want. I had an offcut of exterior hardwood ply, 18mm thick. This was actually from my DIY dog kennel video a couple of years ago, if you remember it. And after cutting out my templates, I started with my neighbour's one. I first drilled holes in awkward angles so I could slot the jigsaw blade in and work my way around. And for other tools, I actually found the quickest method being a combination of a handsaw and a coping saw for the curved bits. And I didn't have to keep moving clamps, cutting the time in half. And these are the kind of tools that are perfect for storing away on a narrowboat anyway and don't make a lot of noise. But you will need to make some relief cuts on the notch area, either by hand or with a jigsaw, meaning spending more time sanding it down to tidy. And for a waterproof finish, I just used what I had in my shed, and that was some old black metal paint. I couldn't find an HD roller, so I painted with a natural brush, left it for 4 hours before adding another coat.
After 7 years in Asia, JamCam Cam returned to the UK to follow their dream of living on a narrowboat and exploring the UK.
So after 7 years here in the Philippines, time to go. Time to flip our lives upside down and start a new adventure. So we're going to be giving all this up for this. So what's the plan? The plan is, there is no plan. We're just going to wing it. We've basically made the decision to do this for a year, to explore as much of the 2,000 miles or so of navigable rivers and canals that there are here in England and Wales. So, but no plan, just going to take it as we go. We know nothing, so if you've been thinking about living on a narrowboat and you're thinking, should I do it, should I not do it, watch us. We'll make every mistake that is humanly possible because we know nothing. So after flying in from the Philippines, we had a 10-day quarantine period with our COVID tests, both negative thankfully on day 2 and day 8, and day 10 our freedom was given back to us, and it also coincided with restrictions easing in the UK, so movement was possible. So we've been making our way now from Lichfield down the Trent and Mersey, onto the Coventry Canal, onto the Oxford, and then onto the Grand Union, and hopefully soon on our way to Leicester to go and see family and friends. So we made it to Leicester. Took a lot longer than we thought, but the locks take a lot longer than we realise, especially because we're still figuring out our way as a team, because we're brand new to this, and as I told you, we don't know very much, but we're learning fast. So we've made it. It's my hometown is Leicester. I grew up here, and so to return, coming down the canal in the sunshine, the only boat on the canal, and people were just emerging from their own restrictions, and it was quite nice, I have to say. So we're going to be seeing people here. We're moored at Castle Gardens, convenient for a lot of people to visit us. I say a lot. I'll have small numbers of people sat outside on the canal side, but we can share a beer, and the weather's nice and it should be comfortable.
The Mindful Narrowboat cruises along the Northampton Arm, which has an empty pound, and ends up in Northampton Marina.
So it was finally time to leave the Grand Union Canal and start a new adventure. So first of all, we had to get ourselves on the Northampton Arm, and that's at Gayton Junction on the Grand Union Canal. So it starts off really well. We go into the first lock, no problems. It's lovely to have tiny little locks again. But then once we were in the second lock, I looked over the side and the pound was almost completely empty. So we filled it up. But I don't think we've got enough water to get through. And I can't work out. I've walked down the pound. I cannot work out where this is leaking from. So that's going really slowly, as I think it's too shallow. Oh, we'll see. But then CRT's answer to Superman, dressed in blue, and I didn't actually see how he arrived, but he came and he saved the day. Thank you so much, CRT.
Wigging it, boating on a budget, give their narrowboat a quick makeover.
What we think sort of in a couple of weeks when it's the bank holiday, we're actually going to go out for a few nights. I think, things like that, we want to enjoy it. We don't just want to, finish work on the boat, have a day off, work on the boat. We want to, definitely not. We want to enjoy it, don't we, Sam? But the main thing I think we've been doing is, as we've titled the video, how not to paint a narrowboat. Plain in detail there, but basically we've thrown a couple of tins of paint at it, haven't we? Literally thrown a couple of tins of paint at it. So let's step back a day or two and have a look, see what we got up to. You know what about sums up this paint job, love?
What's that, love? There?
Find it, fix it, flog it.
Oh yeah.
One of the few programmes that I do watch on the telly. Henry Cole on that often says, good from far, but far from good.
Yeah, that's about right.
And that about sums up this paint job, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because, in all honesty, we've bodged it. Bodged it big style, haven't we? We know to do the whole outside of this boat is going to take probably months of work in it. It needs lots of work, it needs fiberglassing, it needs sanding.
Shot blasting.
Yeah, it needs shot blasting, it then needs all recoating. It is a mammoth job.
Yeah.
And we do want to use it this year, and we thought we're not going to get a chance to do all that this year, are we?
No.
So, we thought basically, bodge it.
3 dogs, a husband and a wide beam boat share updates of the new cratch cover and the utility and office room.
This is the prototype of our second bedroom that James has set up in his workshop. So on the right is going to be the tumble dryer, and on the left will be the fridge. This will be Jamie's work area, but there won't be a strut there, there'll be a hinge, and on the right that is where the washing machine is going to go, and we've got this storage unit, and to the right of that, see where it curves down, that's going to have shelving to the right which leads out to the window. And this is what we've ordered for the back wall to match the back wall in our bathroom that you can see here. It is a beautiful evening on the canal, and we are thinking about taking a trip tomorrow on this boat. However, we're not quite sure whether or not this new contraption, which you see above you, which has been fitted today, which is the bars for our spare room, as it were, for our pram cover, whether or not it will fit underneath the bridges. Little update. We had Joe yesterday come back, and he's actually wiring the calorifier so that we can get hot water from our solars rather than having to switch the diesel on to achieve warmth, which will be ideal in the summer, so that we've got an alternative form of heating that's actually free. James is starting the floor on Thursday, so that will prepare him for putting the rest of the room in. He's making it all up in his workshop, and then next week we'll go down to the service area in the marina, and it'll be unscrewed from where it is and popped into our boat.
In part 2 of Corsos on the Canal, Jamie slowly but surely moves forward with his restoration project.
Thought I'd introduce the dogs that made me start this whole thing, and that's Drago and Luna. Drago was my boy that I got first. He's just coming up to 3, and Luna's 12 months. So during lockdown 2020, this is the canal boat that I decided to restore. So I'm hoping within the next 5 years, before she's 100 years old, I'll have her fully done. So now I'm going to try and give you a little bit of history about the boat. I don't know much myself, so if anyone knows, like, from the pictures or videos, if they think any different, I'd love to know in the comments. She's got no BCN gauge plates that we can find, but we are due to come out the water soon, so I could have a proper look around her. She was known as the Wood Sorrel, and she's an iron riveted hull. And at first I was led to believe that she was an old Joey boat, but from what people have said on the cut, that they've looked in her and had a bit of a mooch around her, they think she's a Mark II Bantock, but that's not confirmed. We're bouncing around our ideas of what it could be. The reason why it's all stripped out from the inside, it was left in such poor condition from, it was a simple thing. The stern gland was left to leak in the boat. So it's 2 foot in water, and obviously all the inside's rotten. So all those lovely carvings and the kitchen that was in there, the floor, even the walls collapsed from just like a simple thing. It just wasn't pumped out. Because I'd left her for so long over winter with lockdown, I couldn't go back up to the boat because I was in a different county. We had real struggles trying to get the engine going again. Like, real struggles. But luckily, we got help. So finally, after 5 months of not being able to come up, being able to do little bits of work on her, then finding out the alternators never worked, that's why I keep killing my batteries off. Finally, got everything sorted. Thought it'd be rude not to take her out for a little test run. And this is the exact reason I fell in love with the canal lifestyle. And I think this is what's pushing me forward to do this project and complete it. Just the views, the lifestyle. I just fell in love with it. So we're going to go from there and enjoy it while we can. So a week later, we come back up to the boat to find, yet again, more water. We found that where there'd been some, like, perished steel where it corroded, we'd found pinholes that were just letting the water in. Where I've removed all the weight, it was listing to the one side, allowing the water to come in through those pieces. And it was soul destroying just when I thought she was sorted.
Mark and Paul from yet another canal adventure continue their short cruise at Lock 38 of the Grand Union Canal and head to Cook's Bridge.
Hello and welcome back to yet another canal adventure. You join us here in Lock 38 of the Grand Union Canal. We're still heading towards Cook's Bridge, that's Bridge 126, and it is still the 22nd of September 2019.
As restrictions ease, Julie and Mark from We're on the Move take the opportunity to move to pastures new. They also have big news.
We're finally allowed to move, not just for water, although that's where we're going first, but we're allowed to move because we want to move.
Yeah, we've got to stay local. I think it's up until the 17th where we can actually physically move wherever we want.
Yeah.
But we've got to stay local, so we're only going to go up a couple of locks, maybe 4, fill up with water and stay in the Crofton Pound, which is where the beam engine is. So some of you canal buffs out there might know the Crofton beam engine.
Can we say we've got big news?
Very big news. Stick around to the end of this video and you'll see our exciting news.
Let's see if we're stuck. Okay, front's going out, the back isn't at the moment. So I use the plank. There we go. There we go. There we go. Yay! Now we should get off the bank. Just got the front to get off now. Wow, that took about 20 minutes to get the boat from not being grounded anymore.
Okay, so we moved from Great Bedouin and we're now in the lot in the pound 2 up, I think, from the Crofton beam engine. Now this pound normally is pretty stable, but yesterday 2 boats came through and one of them left one of the paddles up by a tiny fraction. It took us all night to discover what the problem was. We let in about 4 locks worth of water, and every time we levelled up we would then start dropping again. So when we woke up this morning we were on the lean, we were about a foot, maybe 3/4 of a foot out of the water on one side. So today we took some drastic action and decided to remedy the situation so that we didn't have a repeat should somebody else leave one of the paddles up. I'll show you what we've done. So we went to B&Q, other DIY stores are available, and we bought some long lengths of wood which we've cut with 2 holes either end. One hole at one end has got some thick rope in it to tie around the boat, and the other one is to put a pin in so that we can pin it to the bank. And the idea is that as boats go up and down the locks and the pound falls or rises, we don't get pushed into the bank onto the shelf, and then when the water comes out we end up on the lean, so it keeps us away from the bank. So that's the first thing that we've done. The second thing we've done is put some springs out. People quite often ask us how we moor. I'll show you what configuration of springs we've got at the moment, which is designed to stop the boat from swinging about in the water as boats go by or as locks are filled or emptied. And this is one of the advantages of having a long centre line, because as you can see it goes from the boat there out, wraps around those mooring pins, goes along the floor, wraps around those mooring pins and goes back to the boat where it's tied on. And that effectively is like a massive spring, so as the boat moves back this way, that side takes the slack, and as it goes that way, this side takes the slack. And we've tried it, a couple of boats have gone through and we stayed pretty stable. The other thing we've done, we had a short length of plank and it was never really any good. We only ever used it on the Grand Union when we couldn't get close into the bank. And we decided to drill a hole in this end and put some rubber matting on that end, and we've also tied it, drilled a hole and tied it to the boat. And what that does is does the same as the wooden strut at the back of the boat. It just keeps the front end from drifting in when the water rises, because what was happening was the water was rising and then the front end would drift in, and then they'd empty the lock that end, and then the water would drop and we'd be perched on the shelf. So it's just a way of keeping the boat out from the bank so that we don't rise and fall and end up on the lean.
The beery boater takes a walk around the outside of his customised 57-foot steel narrowboat shell.
Well, here she is. Let's take a walk around. You'll notice that I've got a shorter well deck than usual. Still gives me about 32 inches, but chopping a little bit off here, well, off the length of it, and also off the stern, gives me a little bit more cabin space inside. got to be grit blasted and blacked yet, and there's a few finishing touches, but we should be in the field fitting it out in the next week or so.
Canis Bannon on board Dutch barge Linda builds a box for the generator to reduce the noise.
Hello and welcome to the channel. Today's task is to make this. Shut up! I've just built a shed in my shed. It also might need some air holes. Quite a lot of air holes.
So, whether you're looking to create a separate home office or turn an unused space into a commercial space for it.
This is how it works.
Steve from Slow Boat Through Britain is joined by his family for a trip through the country's deepest lock.
We start this journey at Sorby Bridge, the beginning of the Rochdale Canal.
You met my family in the last video, and with them living nearby, I invited them to take this short trip with me. It's Matt and Sally and my grandson Rupert. Chilm Lane Tunnel was constructed during the restoration of the canal, as the road layout above had grown in size during the time the canal had been abandoned. To conserve water, there are two sets of bottom gates at this lock, and it depends on the length of the boat as to which is used. This lock is only passable when manned by CRT officials. The huge drop of 19 foot 8.5 inches would cause a dangerous maelstrom if the paddles were opened too quickly. Chilm Lock is the deepest lock on the canal system. Originally it was two locks, but with the changes to the road layout, there was no way to fit both locks into the restoration.
Cruising crafts take a trip from Nantwich to Middlewich.
So we've been here for about 2 weeks now, and I've got to start heading off to Middlewich because I've got a job to do over in Middlewich, and we've got some blacksmithing orders to make and some orders to get out, which we're going to stop and do on the way. Sad to see this spot go, but I think we might come back here and do some trading once we're allowed on the 12th. We'll do that very soon, I think. About 7 o'clock at evening. It's been a very long day. I've just finished work. Got here about 3 o'clock yesterday. Here being Sykes Hollow leisure area on the Middlewich branch of the Shropshire Union Canal. I am absolutely shattered. I'm filthy. I'm hungry. So I think it's time to go and get some tea, have a shower, and I think an early night. It's not the best of mornings. Don't know whether you can make that out on the canal behind me, but it's raining. But we have to set off today. Can't hang about. Got to get into Middlewich today, and I've got to stop off at a marina to make some deliveries. Oh, this is a turn up. We've just got to our first lock now. The rain's stopped. Fingers crossed that's it for the day. The sun's trying to make an appearance. Lou's just gone filling the lock up now. I've got my brew and some cheese on toast. Happy days.
Join us next week for another Narrowboat Vloggl.